guys and gals, Never here from Drake Wing Gaming. It's something to me on Twitter, the Gaming Drag. Today I'm coming back at you another Let's Play episode of Repeat. Sissel's Path. Sorry about that. So yeah, before we jump into it, just want to let y'all know that our Patreon is now for as little as $5. Y'all can help support the channel, get some awesome rewards like permanent access to our community Discord server and full access to upcoming, not safe for work videos. And we also go ahead and jump right back in. Alarm chain, you were up, and let's go. Alright. Sissel let out a sigh and rubbed his temples. Oh. I can do that? Okay. Sissel let out a sigh and rubbed his temples. Alright, let's try this weird memory thing of yours. Yes, thank you for trusting me. As long as you're not going to make me smoke something weird, Mrs. Corliss would kill me. Actually, one second, y'all. Give me a moment. Alright, all good, y'all. I was making sure I didn't have HDR on. It's got nothing to do with... never mind. Just give me your hand. Sissel still looked a bit suspicious, but he hesitantly did as I asked. His cheeks flushed a little when I reached out and held his hand firmly. With my other hand, I carefully laid the old photograph out on the grass and readied my camera. Brace yourself, this might get a bit nauseating. What's that supposed to mean? No. Oh my. The camera shutter snapped. Suddenly the world around me shattered into shards of nothing. Something felt different this time around. The sky cracked and shattered into a cascade of shimmering specks of light. I was falling gently into the cold embrace of night. The ground rippled like pale water as I landed lightly on my feet. From above, the cold night sky stretched as far as the eye could see. Shimmering against the black were tiny specks of what appeared to be stars, but upon closer inspection revealed themselves to be tiny pieces of glass. Below, a vast horizon of thread and familiar pale clockwork glowed softly underfoot. What is this place? It happened last time. Echo's voice suddenly rumbled from deep within my chest. Welcome to the memory well. This is your world. What does that mean? If the clockwork realm is Haley and her wisher's domain, then the memory well is yours. Ours. As much as I hate to admit it, as wishes, we are rather similar in nature. Time and memory, mortality and connection. Here you will find the little pieces of time that you seek. I stared down at my feet and watched the faint reflection of the clockwork realm ticking mechanically through the rippling water. Everything here felt trippy, to say the least. Adrian, are you there? Sissel, where are you? I glanced around nervously. Sissel was nowhere to be seen, but his voice felt close, as though he was right beside me. I'm right here, but kinda not here? It feels like I'm in a dream. His voice was thick with disbelief and awe as he took in our surroundings. I guess you weren't lying about that whole camera thing. Or maybe it's just one big acid trip. I'm not even going to try to work out the logic of this mess. Yeah, I kind of gave up on figuring out how this whole thing works too. I could hear Sissel grumble under his breath. Well, I did promise to go through with this weird plan of yours. There you go. Water time. I have orange cream bubbly water. It's delicious. Now what? Out of the corner of my eye, a piece of glass shimmered with a faint yellow light, and I instantly knew that this was one of Sissel's memories. Wading through the water, I leaned forward to examine the shard closely. A thin yellow thread looped around the glass before stretching off into the horizon, entangling with various other threads in its long path. A frayed lavender thread dangled weakly and appeared dangerously thin. Jenny? And beyond it, a pair of orange and red threads danced around each other. Maybe Owen and Philip? I grinned and gently ran my fingers across the faint blue thread wrapped tightly around Sissel's pale yellow strand. So this is ours. I paused. Coiled tightly around the pale yellow thread was a ragged string of gray lying in a tangled mess. It trailed off into the distance on its own, as though determined to distance itself from the others. I grabbed at it and followed the thin thread into the dark, inky horizon. Sis, I think I found what we're looking for. Brace yourself. All right, I'll follow your lead. I nodded. Taking a deep breath, I gave the ragged gray thread a firm tug. The world suddenly went white. I was falling once again. A thick, acrid smell filled the air. Whispers and splitting pain suddenly filled my head. What was happening? Where... I heard that people often reminisce about their childhood as a foggy... Sorry, y'all. It was a foggy, nostalgic memory. Vague details of growing up with family, celebrating birthdays with candlelit cakes, a warm feeling of a happier time. Unfortunately, I couldn't say the same for myself. My childhood memories were as sharp as the broken glass bottles that constantly littered the dirty floor of our dingy home. A foul chemical odor permeated from the basement and penetrated the damp air of every room. A poorly hidden lab for Mom and Dad's more illegal operations. Shouting. Always shouting. There's never a quiet moment in the memories of my youth. Mom and Dad were always at each other's throats over one thing or another. Sometimes it was about how they were handling their business, shady clients and untrustworthy dealers. Other times they just grasped at excuses to be angry with each other. Peace was a stranger in this household. I spent most of my childhood hiding in this awful house. It was safe to pretend it existed and draw as little attention as possible. Our parents' shouting was horrible, but at least it was usually directed between the two of them. It was worse when it was directed towards me. A sharp pain. My eyes stung with tears, lungs burning with rasping sobs as I clutched the warm, wet gash across my head. I didn't remember much afterwards, except for one burning memory. Cecilia stood over my tiny, crying body, arms spread protectively like a shield that no child should be forced to become. Water time. My sister was always there, standing between our parents' rage and my useless self. She stood tall, always there to protect me. After our parents took their fury elsewhere, I could remember Cecilia's hushed voice as she gently cleaned my gashed head with a warm towel. Her low voice whispered that everything will be all right. We'll make it through this. Someday we'll run away together, far away from this horrible place. Everything will be better. I always believed her. I knew she could have left a long time ago. The only thing that held her back was me. She could have fled this damn family in this awful house years ago if I weren't around. Years of beatings, years of living in this toxic hellhole, all for my sake. I wasn't worth this. Cecilia could have left and made a great life for herself out in the world. Ugh. She was hard-working, clever, and far too kind for her own good, and I was too much of a sobbing and worthless mess to join her. And so she stayed, my valiant and kind sister, shackled here by her worthless waste of a brother. In hindsight, I guess the result was inevitable, but it didn't make it any less devastating. Cecilia left. My valiant shield was gone, left without a word in the night. Suddenly there was nothing to stand between me and the horrors of this house. The shouting worsened and the beatings grew more frequent. Mom and Dad clearly weren't happy that you left. I wasn't sure how to feel. Part of me was overjoyed that you managed to escape. I daydreamed about the wonderful things you must have been up to. Maybe you were chasing your dream of becoming a pastry chef like you were always rambling about. Or maybe you were just living an ordinary, mundane life. Anything was good. Anywhere was better than here. But another part of me was devastated. Selfish, I know. I already knew I was worthless and that staying here would only ruin us both. You were a kid like me, barely a few years older. It wasn't your job to protect me, but still, the dread and betrayal I felt was crippling. You didn't even say goodbye before you left me in this hellhole. It stung more than I could bear. The world slowly descended into a numb and cold daze. Days slipped by without my notice. Time slowly grew into a muddled and meaningless crawl. I wasn't sure what would happen from here, but I had given up on myself. I expected that you had done the same. Then came that night. It began like any other night. I had crawled into bed and closed my eyes, waiting for the usual shouting to cease as my parents fell into an alcohol-soaked slumber. Merciful silence. The late nights were the only time that any semblance of peace ever graced this house. The usual acrid smell from the basement felt especially strong tonight, but I was grateful for the silence. I savored it the best I could as I squeezed my eyes shut, hoping for sleep to pull me away. Suddenly the old floorboards creaked, then a gentle tap on my shoulder. Second now, water time. I bolted up to see your face crouched at my bedside, a finger to your lips. Shh! Sis, you came back! Oh. Sis, you came back! She smiled and nodded silently. Emotion welled up inside my chest. I've been reading this in the wrong damn voice. Emotion welled up inside my chest and let out a shaky laugh. Tears threatened to blur my vision as I threw myself into her arms. Oh, Lord, I keep yawning. Sorry, y'all. Shh. Everything's okay now, Hirsch. I'm here. She gently rubbed my back as I sobbed into her shoulder, too scared to let go. Why was she here? Why risk it? I felt Cecilia lightly trace the raw scar across my head, her expression darkening. Come on, Hirsch, we're leaving. Leaving? She nodded firmly. I made some friends while I was away, and some money. We can build a life outside of this horrible place. I won't let you spend another night in this damn house, not over my dead body. Let's go. Quietly. I grasped her hand tightly and followed her outside without a second thought. We ran breathlessly into the woods, hand in hand. That awful house slowly retreated into the thickets of the trees. I kept sneaking glances back towards the only home I had known. So this was it. We're finally free from this place. You don't think Mom and Dad will chase after us, do you? Cecilia suddenly slowed to a halt. Her gaze followed mine as she stared at the house with a cold, hard glare. I had never seen her look so frigid before. Sis, is everything okay? I'm fine. Her eyes softened as she gripped my hand tightly. Hirsch, I'm so sorry that I left you for so long. But I'm here now. We're finally escaping this horrible place, just like I promised we would. A low rumble shook the air. I glanced back at the house with shock. The dim light flickering behind the dirty basement window suddenly exploded with intensity. The earth shook with a groan as fire erupted from every door and window. Glass scattered across the dead vegetation. Smoke thickened with the frigid night air. I watched in horror as flames swallowed up that awful place before our very eyes. I wasn't sure what to feel at that moment. Sadness, maybe? Or, in an awful way, relief. That place that had been the cause of so much pain was burned away, till nothing was left but dancing embers in the night sky. Cecilia gripped my hand tightly. Her eyes narrowed into cold, harsh slits. Our parents will never hurt you again. We're finally free. Oh, wow, so she fucking killed their parents. Holy shit. Threads of light unraveled. My eyes fluttered open and I awoke back under the starlit sky of the memory well. So that was Hershel's memory. I couldn't see Sissel, but I could feel his racing heartbeat pounding rapidly alongside my own. Second, is water time. Are you doing okay there, sis? Sissel was silent for a while as he tried to process everything. That was this memory thing. Everything we saw was real? Yeah. Oh. Sissel paused. Boss mentioned in the past that his family life was a bit shit, but I never realized it was this bad. Just figured he was complaining to make me feel better. And the fact that it was so awful that my mom decided to burn down their family home. Mrs. Corliss rambled on and on about how wonderful and kind she was, but I guess anyone would develop a bit of ruthlessness with that kind of upbringing. Was that the memory that you were looking for? Kinda. It was nice to know that Mom loved and cared for him so much. But somehow it just pisses me off even more. Like, if Cecilia was so good to him, why did she steal her money just to compete in the damn competition? There has to be more to this, right? Do you think you can show me more memories? I rubbed my forehead tiredly. A small, nauseating headache was starting to peck at my skull. Staying in this place for prolonged periods of time probably wasn't the best idea. But I think I had it in me to unravel one more memory. I reached out and followed Hershel's thread deeper into the sea of night. There was a pale, cream-colored thread entangled with his as we ventured further. Then abruptly the cream-colored thread was cut. Its frayed, severed end broke off from Hershel's thread and laid alone on the cold water below. I gulped and gently grasped Hershel's thread again. This must be the place. Bracing myself, I gave the strand a firm tug. Alright, come on. Ooh. Alright, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and pause it right there. Thank y'all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And I'm going to give a brief shout out to my awesome patrons. Thank you so much to our bronze tier patrons. Y'all, we appreciate everything y'all contribute to the channel. Thank you to our silver tier patron, Kate Silverman. Thank you for going a bit above me, y'all. We greatly appreciate it. And thank you to our gold tier patron, Amr. Thank you so much. We love you. You're awesome. We hope you love your new icon. And anyway, y'all, if y'all want to get your name in the ending credits, it's as little as $5. Anyway, I love you all. I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye-bye.